Welcome to Redefining ABCD.
So today for Brown Art Network, the focus of our conversation will be surrounding South Asian pride and ethical fashion practices and how they go hand in hand and why they're so important to celebrate and practice within our community. So joining us in our conversation is Gnanaselvam Ponappulam, who is the director of Navi Clothing, a casual streetwear brand inspired by Tamil culture, rooted in the arts and ways of life of Tamilians across the world. This is especially special for me and Kirti because, as you guys know, we are also Tamil, so we're very excited to have you here. Hi, Gnana, welcome.
Hello.
So before we dive into our central topic for today, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the years leading up to Navi Clothing?
Little about me. I was born in Sri Lanka, and then I moved to UK in 2007. I think it's for my studies I came here, and then I dropped out from my studies in my second year, and then started doing some online businesses, and somehow came into the printing business. So I do like start to print T-shirts, like Mark's phone cases and stuff. And that time, so I was doing Tamil prints for myself. I was printing myself and I was doing this, and then I got into my passion to do a brand. So I started to work with some other people. So I was doing merchandise for other brands. So at that point, I realized, so I should do something, because when I'm doing to other people to make their own brand, so I should do as well, isn't it? So the Tamil is the thing. It came to my mind first. I want to do it for Tamil, because I like Tamil, and that's why we started it. So I had a long plan to do it, but it took some. The branding is the fashion is. I'm engineer background I came from, so fashion is not a. So I have to learn lots about the fashion before I come into the So I did some research for the years, and then I think 2019 I decided to do it. I wasn't ready at that point as well. Then I thought it was dragging for many years, and I thought somehow I need to start it, and then I want to make the brand move slowly so I can learn along the way rather than establish going away. So that's how I took it. It's learning every day now, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how would you define South Asian pride for yourself? Like, how big of a part does it play in your business as well as your personal life? Like,
Personal science thing, I think that's our life, isn't it? So is we born with it, and we live with that life, and we need to take it forward as well. Moving forward, we need to take it, and it's quite hard when we're living abroad, countries like this. I married to a European girl, so I have a son now, so it's a big like a pressure to moving. Especially I live away from Tamil community, so I don't have anyone close around me, so it's just me, and then it's so we have to do something more.
can you speak a little bit more about that pressure that you feel? Like what do you feel that pressure? I guess like sharing the South Asian side to your kid, and like how like do you think that your industry and your business is like kind of helping with that almost?
Yeah, it is helping. Yeah, the business. That's what I wanted to do it as well, because when you away from that culture and time, I think you miss it more than when you
Hmm.
that community. So because you live in with it. So when I'm away from that community, so I miss it, every day. So that's so I wanted to do something, and then with the printing and the fashion. I like fashion. I used to be a chef as well before.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, so I did lots of job after the uni, and then finally I became a chef, and I worked like for 4 or 5 years. So I was doing online business while I'm doing the chefing. So some at that point, and the chefing as well is quite very artistic industry. I didn't even know when I was doing chefing. When you go to the presentation is very important in that Western cuisine. So it is kind of an art as well. So I started to draw on plates. That's where I started. When we doing, I was a pastry chef. So we started. Then the printing is helps here as well. So it's giving me the creativity to do the artworks and stuff. Yeah.
That's
And that's
awesome.
really cool. Yeah. So I guess in terms of the clothing industry, how do you feel like what are your thoughts on the mainstream like clothing industry that we kind of see right now? And how do you kind of see it, how it accommodates to South Asian pride. Do you think that currently the industry has an effective method to do that, or what are your thoughts on that?
For South Asian industry, and there are many lots of brands, independent brands. They're doing their part of, I've seen lots of Sikhs communities. They have their brands and lot of. For the Hindi side of it, I haven't seen many, but like Arabic and it's like we can see them Urdu, the brands in UK. I've seen it, but the mainstream, I don't think there's influence, even though most of the garments made in South Asian countries, any brand if you take is the cotton is India is the mass producing for cotton. I know, so the 80% of the cotton goes to the fashion industry from India. So, and the brands, I don't think they're expressing the South Indian part of their streaming. I don't think they're showing it enough.
Right. So what do you like? Do you think that there's like, because I know there's this concept like of cultural appropriation and like how like countries outside of the India can like kind of take the clothing and like make it into like a westernized sort of thing. Like, what are your thoughts on that specifically? Do you like think that that is an issue or something that like you are kind of concerned about within the fashion industry? In terms of like Indian clothing being like misrepresented in other countries.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's a very hard topic,
Right.
and yeah, but I think the cultural, the fashion exchange is fine. We can we do that, but the exploitation is kind of is you need to understand, like especially when it's come to the Navi, when we're doing our Lord Ganesh or Shiva's print on a T-shirt.
Hmm.
That's controversial. Some people doesn't like it. Even we had some comments on Instagram. You shouldn't be printing that on a T-shirt. It's not appropriate. It's kind of some people like to wear it, and some people doesn't like to do that. And it's depend on the places as well. If you having like a goat T-shirt, and if you go into like a party event or something, it doesn't we shouldn't do that. So if you wear
Right.
yeah, it's the occasion, and that's it's individual. That's their responsibility, I guess. When it comes to that yeah, the choosing the events and the wearing it and how you treating it as well. Even at home, you can't just put it on the floor and leave it. If you have a Lord Shiva's T-shirt, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, right, right.
So you need to give that respect from your side, and you need to treat it. Yeah. So that's. But yeah, it's like a 50-50.
Do you kind of see it like, I know you said you have a Sri Lankan background. Do you kind of see a little difference between Sri Lankan clothing industry versus Indian like clothes, like the culture between the two being appropriated differently and outside in different countries?
Yeah, there will be a uniqueness from each side, each people, communities, isn't it? But we all similar. But if you take Sri Lanka, it's like it's divided into two languages, Sinhalese, but we all have common, and we are different as well, that even the saris, if you take, everyone is different, the way they dress, isn't it? So that's the style is unique to each part, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I guess in terms of Navi, how do you feel like Navi breaks away from that like mainstream culture and like celebrates like Tamil pride specifically? Because I know you have a Tamil line in your
Yeah.
clothing.
Yeah, I started with Tamil line because it's going to because I wanted to take Navi to on a high street. That's what I dream, and it's a very risky business. I took. The winning chances is very very low. It's a very competitive market, and fighting with if I want to stand next to a high street brand, as that's my aim. But I'm doing it, but it's lots of learning and lots of and it's a big risk, is going for to that industry. It's I totally I knew it even though I started. I wasn't expected to become a big brand, but I want to give my best to. It's a journey, isn't it? I want to walk that journey with that and see how far I can go and push it, So I decided to do it in Tamil. So I wanted to narrow that part, so I know I will learn along the way, rather than if I go into like a big brands, it's a big journey. I can't just straight away go within from my knowledge. It will take at least say 20, 10 years. I need to be in the business first. That's the main thing. All I focus in now on to keep the Navi live for 10 years. Then after that, then we can see where I'm at. That's, yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's really cool that you're talking about like, taking some time and like actually building and having a good foundation for the company and
Yeah.
then moving up. I think that's really like a good idea. And do you think like that would be kind of like if you did have any advice for other South Asians looking to do something like what you're doing, like, building a business, like expanding, like what kind of advice would you give them? Because you seem to like have a lot of knowledge about, kind of growing a business.
Yeah, we do collaborate with another brand called Kali Chaos. We might have seen on Instagram. They are like a biker group in London. So as soon as I saw their logo, I really like the logo. I said I want to work with that logo. So I approached them and we start to do merchandise. I like to help people. I like to work with community. It's a growing. It's we need to grow together, right? It just Navi being a big brand is not gonna make anything. When I'm growing, we need to grow our community. That's spirit we need to have in our community. Then we all can achieve something. It's just not the one person can change the whole community. It's not the way. When we can to do something to another person. If we are in the place to do it and help it, and but we need to work together mutually, and we need to know. That's important. That as a community we should do that within our community. When we doing it. So I like to um, do that. So we work.
Yeah, I think that's really good, like uplifting like the people around you and working together to build both the brands. I think
Yeah,
that's like really good too. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That's cool. And I know you have your Tamil line. What specifically within Tamil culture are you proud and like are wanting to share with your clothing line? And even with your kid now that your father. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the literature,
Okay.
this plays
Yeah.
the biggest role. I think even because we are the oldest religion. I guess not religion. I would say the history is the oldest. I think I could say, and the languages as well. I see in Tamil languages, Tamil words in many languages, and we do have many words in different languages. At the moment, the Tamil is combined of nearly, it's like 15 languages, combined. That's what the Tamil what we speak, and every word is we have borrowed and we given. That's how the languages grows along the way. So, but Tamil have a big part, and the literature is very strong, I think, and is very beautiful. If you know really Tamil, it's really beautiful language, Yeah, so yeah, that's the literatures. Yeah, that's yeah, and the phrases as well. Some phrases what we have in our language, it's explain the world concept. If you take Tirukural,
Hmm.
it's beyond religion and God. It's just the lifestyle and
Mm.
how the person should live. You don't need a God if you follow that 1333 phrases. If you follow that line, you don't need a god or temple or to do that. All the human, that's is beyond religion. So anyone can follow that verses. That's yeah. So that's the beauty of Tamil, I think. Yeah. So,
Right.
No,
Well,
that's awesome. And
yeah, I think
oh,
I'm
Kirti, sorry.
sorry. Sorry.
There's a lag.
Okay.
It's fine.
No, I was just gonna say like the point that you brought up of how Tamil is spread across the world. It's really random. I like remember like reading in the news that like apparently in a lot of countries like Tamil origins of the word have been ingrained in their languages as well. Like I think apparently in like the South Korean language,
yeah.
apparently Tamil there's like what I think there's over 600 words that they discovered that originated from
Oh,
Tamil
wow.
language.
Yeah, they go
And
Appa Amma same.
yeah,
Right.
and yeah, it's like really cool to see that we're like the baseline origin of a lot of really big foundations.
Yeah,
of languages.
yeah.
We're the OGs. We're the originals. We've been here forever. No, I mean, I don't know. I was also gonna ask. I know you said you had a kid. Do you ever feel any pressure to like preserve or upkeep the South Asian customs into the next generation and kind of um, celebrate and preach it in the next generation? Because I mean, I don't doubt, I don't think Tarukura will ever like die or like people will forget about it. But like, do you ever feel that pressure to like keep it going and like keep preaching it and telling people to like kind of appreciate it and appreciate the language itself?
Yeah, I think it is a pressure. Yeah, but we have to do it. We need to find a way to do it within our lifestyle. It's different to each one. Everyone is different with the way. So it's feeding, isn't it? It's kind of growing a plant. What we feed, that's the plants. That's how it grows. So it's in our hand. We need to take the time, and we need to you know take that steps to it's hard for me, for my kid, being a married to a European girl, and when time. But now what I do now is I'm getting into is music. So me and him used to listen to like Tamil music. He loved master songs. He even as soon as he
Nice.
hear the beat, he get that buzzing. So that's
Oh,
the way.
nice.
Some food as well, the Sri Lankan foods, he get the more flavors, and he sometimes like, yeah, when he was eating it. So he feel the difference, when it's mom's food and then when I cook as well, so he feel the difference, so that's different shade. That's how we need to introduce like little things and yeah, you know,
Yeah, culture is more than language. Like you said, it's food, music, and like
yeah, yeah, it is.
tradition.
Yeah, Jason, yeah.
I love
Um,
that. That's amazing.
yeah. Out of curiosity, how does your son kind of look at Navi clothing? Does he ever ask you questions like, what is this meaning when you printed it in this type of sweatshirt, or like kind of ask you where you got your inspiration from?
I think it's sometimes I plan with something, but I just end up with something, So even this artwork, the tracksuit, it came in. I had the plan, but I didn't know even the handprint and what to print and what the designer. Then suddenly, it's the one day I decided, oh, I'm gonna fill with all the letterings and then get that. I got the inspiration, like we seen high street brands, the off white, they came with the street style is quite different than the other brands, you might have seen the difference. So they got that three lines in here. So if I put another type of the same line, so it's kind of I'm imitating the style. So I wanted to do something related to Navi, and I want to get that style as well. So that's something. Even filling this Navi name is all with the Tamil letterings, So rather than just put in a white print, solid lines, I could have do something with our Tamil letterings, So that I would just could be different,
Yeah, that's cool. Um, I know Navi not only stands for like cultural pride with the Tamil language and like the background, but you also stand for like going against bad fashion industry practices, which I think we can be seen a lot in a lot of South Asian countries just because of how the mainstream industry kind of works in terms of like making the clothing itself. Can you talk a little bit about like what bad practices you're against and how Navi is kind of working to make sure that the products are being made ethically?
Yeah, it's quite hard at this age. Everyone look for like a. I want to say, about the high street brands, and not every brand, but uh, there's a price come to play this place. There's the consumers. When they're looking for a price, and some products. When they um, the, that's why it goes to like a more synthetic materials. And we have use and throw. We throw a lot than what we buy. You know, that's the problem. Like we, is the fashion plays the big role on carbon efficiency in the world. That's on the second industry, and even it to make a one garment is like nearly what 3,000, 4,000 liters of water to create a one garment to produce. So when we buy it that for £5, So 8,000 liter of water, you can put a maths on that amount of water to produce a 1 pound piece of garment. So the environmentally, these countries, some countries get affected because of this, because of the consume of the Western world. It affects another part of the world very badly. That's quite sad to see that, because but that's the way it's in every manufacturers go for at the moment, because of the cost and the labor. And yeah, it's quite a few stuff is going bad at the moment. Yeah, that's quite sad to see that. But at the end of the day, it's always it's about consumers. Before, people not used to buy many clothes per year. Say that they might have bought it like 20 a year, but nowadays, it's a weekly shopping. The
Mm.
buying clothes is, but you don't need weekly. I shouldn't be saying that you can buy clothes for your needs, and we buy clothes, we're not even wearing it. That's another thing. So that this market is pushing us to buy things. They want the repeat customers again and again and again and again and again. That's what is called the fast fashion. As well, they want to sell it every week. If you take up some size, they like every week we have like hundreds of collections. Before it's like a seasonal. It's like 4 collections for each season. It's like 4 seasons have 4 collections from brands. That's how it should be. But now like a weekly collections, I mean, it's like it's quite production. It's going fast, isn't it? So it's
Right.
killing the world. If you take that much out from this world, that sustainability is getting narrowed. So that's quite sad to see that the way it goes going is really uh, not going to last for long. That's the thing. Yeah, isn't
And
it?
and
Yeah.
how do you think Navi clothing specifically or how are you working against those bad practices within Navi clothing? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, most of our garments it's all we focusing on organic cottons. That even like
Okay.
yeah. So the most of the if you go for like a bad practice, meaning bringing more synthetic material, that's the harmful for the land. Even UK alone, like maybe 500,000 tons of clothes is going on the landfills each year. So if you go to synthetic material, if it's a cotton goes to that point, man, it's not gonna do a harm to a landfill. We shouldn't be doing that. But when you go to a synthetic material, that's gonna stay in the land for a long time. And so that's why the Navi is always try to get it on organic cottons, and yeah, keep finding the right products as well. That's the other key, and trying to reduce much as we can. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool that you use organic cotton. And I think going back to like South Asian culture, like that's a lot of the foundations of a lot of clothing, like saris and stuff, goes back to the um organic cotton and the different types of cotton and silk that we get in
Yeah.
our countries. So that's
Yes.
really cool. It also has lots of cultural value as well.
Yeah.
I think also the point that you brought up about like buying clothes that would last as opposed to just keep recycling, but not recycling, keep going and buying new things over and over and over again. I think the
Yes.
idea of like buying clothes that will actually last and will keep you happy for a very long time is probably more ethical than,
Yeah.
keep
We
going
have
every week.
we have some products is mainly 80% made of regenerated cotton. So it's
Mhm.
kind of recycling the cotton. So and as a consumer, we have a big responsibility after we use the material, how we can give it to recycling method, rather than putting in a bin. So that's helped the environment as well. So there is the mainly like lots of brands now they're doing a big part of the generated cottons, using their product lines. That's help as a consumer. Then that's our responsibility. So because the consumers are the end end part of the any industry, so they have the big responsibility on each product what they buy and how they use it, and then how they uh, give throw away. That's important. That's we can't blame everything on the factories and the brands. Because they producing, and we have the responsibility of how we use each products. And how we recycle it, or so everything.
Yeah. Moving towards a little bit back into like representation in the fashion industry. Um, Recently I saw a brand that was a South Asian brand that collabed with Shein. Do you know that company, that fast fashion company, Shein?
Yeah.
So they recently collabed and did like a South Asian inspired line for women's clothing. And a lot of people did some pushback saying like Shein is obviously not an ethical fashion company. They do have some really bad fashion practices. So a lot of customers were like, I don't know if I want to buy your clothes on this platform because it's how bad the conditions are to make the clothing. And the founder responded saying like representation is way more important in getting the foot into the door into
Yeah,
the industry.
yeah,
Um, and so like it's worth kind of letting go of that good fashion practices per se. I think that's what her intentions were kind of going. How do you feel like that? How should we balance like representation and fashion practices? Like, do you feel like there's like a line that like you shouldn't go over just because you want to get representation in the door?
yeah, man, yeah. I think that's a hard one as well. It's that's the individuals, isn't it? And you if you are stick to your ethics, you wouldn't do that thing. Is basically it's like money is not money. Money is important. Everyone is working for that, but it's losing the ethics over it. It's kind of you losing your personality, kind of, isn't it? So if you start to do that, I think you shouldn't be doing that. It's yeah.
So representation definitely. I mean, I'm sorry, ethical fashion practices definitely take precedence over representation, and
Yeah,
that's yeah. Okay,
yeah,
Because it's
that's
like your identity. Yeah. Like if you
yeah.
let go of your morals,
yeah,
what's the
losing
point
your
of
identity, yeah.
representation?
So yeah, if you, especially we come from our Tamils, and we know what we stand for, and what our even like older days, everyone, our ancestors, they preserve this world for the next generation. That's the practice, and that's the way our culture stand for, isn't it? So when I'm doing a brand for the culture, I need to stick to that 100%. So I can't go breach the borders. So that's important. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
I guess kind of going off that a little bit, where do you hope to see the fashion industry as a whole changing, and how do you think consumers can help be a part of that change? You mentioned a little bit before, but can you just kind of reiterate, like, where do you hope to see the fashion industry going?
Fashion industry needs to slow down, I think.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Like when I started thinking about this brand, I didn't see many independent brands. But after I launched it, if you go to Instagram, you see every day at least 5 new brands sponsors. It's kind of each year is coming, and even in the end industry is, it's all the consumer. He's the end person. So it's all down to him. How we consume, and how we treat the products. How we treat the environment. That's the thing. So it is all of our responsibility, I think. Yeah, comes change in the world. It's need to change. Yeah, fashion industry, but it's people there's a very big dark side of the fashion industry, but it's not many people talk about it, and not many people see in it, because that's the thing. That because we're all in a busy world now, isn't it? Social media, it's like digital world is blocking lots of actual view of the world, on the, you know so yeah.
Do you think that like as Navi clothing, you could potentially change the consumer's mindset to like become more like good standing practices or like in the ways that you kind of hope to see the fashion industry changing?
Mm, yeah. uh, fashion industry, Navi, it's hard to say. Let's say that. That's why we don't want to be like on a fashion like a race kind of. That's what I was thinking. It's like I don't want to run it, and I don't want to make it like a big impact onto the fashion. I don't want to join that. So it's taking the steps. It's slow. It's taking the steps slowly. That's because that's we more focus on it. If I start to put more lines and more lines and more lines, that's kind of getting crowded, and it's get more complicated as well.
So creating clothes that will last longer and people will just cherish for a very long time, as opposed to keep creating and creating and forcing people to buy new things. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. No, that makes sense. I think that's really cool. And kind of to wrap up the segment, what can we expect in the future for Navi clothing? Where do you see, is there any like future sort of goals or things that we can look forward to when it comes to Navi clothing?
Navi, I think we have been moving forward in every day, every year. And this time we got some new good products on this year. And we just mainly focusing on like at the moment it's like getting the words out still, that is the brand awareness, it's take time, and over the 5-10 years, that will be the next step to getting the brand awareness, for the next years, that's the one important. And it's a brand. We're doing for the branding, but still we are in a branding process. We are not I'm not still trying to making like big money or something, out of it. I want to still stand for that, the ethics, and stand for Navi and taking the Navi forward. It's a very slow process. It's not the brand is not a quick process. Brand is take aging, isn't it? It's that. Yeah, that's what we mainly focusing on now.
I know you mentioned a little bit. Sorry, Kirti, I'm sorry. I know you mentioned a little bit in the beginning that you like to like work with brands and like uplift them as well as your own company. If you could collab with anyone or any other brand, what brand would you like to collab with in the future?
That's a good question. You mean already the well established brand, or like the?
It could be anything, whatever you want. Like like any sort of brand that you kind of seen on the web and you'd like to reach out or maybe work with them in the future.
Oh, wow, that's a tricky one. I like Tommy Hilfiger.
Okay.
Before I think mostly I shop with Tommy. So because I was born in 1985, so Tommy born in 1985 as well. So, I found out after 5 years. So I like that brand. Is every brand have a uniqueness, even in their cuttings. The T-shirt is same, but each brand their cuts are different. So if some people like their bodies fit to that cuts. That's why the brands are different shades, because everyone giving the same material, same quality. But they are different in their cuttings, because everyone's body shapes. I think the Tommy is quite is good fit for my body. So I was keep buying it. So if I can collaborate with Tommy Hilfiger, so that be kind of, as a consumer, I'll be a happy consumer. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That would be a cool collab. Navi and Tommy Hilfiger.
But nowadays,
I can see it.
No, like the reason the way of fashion is collaboration is playing a big role. We see Supreme collaborating with Gucci and Louis Vuitton is kind of even so that's kind of a new fashion style now. The brands collaborating together. That's interesting. Before it's been like a very hard, unimaginable thing. Two brands doing one product. But that's the way the fashion is going now. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess so. As we like kind of wrap up this episode, do you have any like concluding thoughts you want to share with our listeners about like sticking to like your South Asian pride or Tamil pride, or anything you want to wrap up to say to let them know about anything.
Nah, I don't know.
Sorry if it's too much pressure. Sorry, that sounded like a
Yeah.
very last moment.
Now
type of
conclude
question.
everything.
Yeah. Feel free to say whatever you would like, honestly.
I don't know what to say for that. Yeah, given the South Asian pride, yeah.
That's okay, no worries.
I think I will just end there, and then I'll jump right into the conclusion. I thank you, Nyana, for coming onto the show to talk about Navi clothing. We're very excited to see the company grow in the future. And for our listeners, if you're interested in purchasing any of Nyana's many Tamil-centric t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, etc., check out his website, naviclothing.com. We'll post a link in the episode description so you guys can have that. Thank you so much, Nyana.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me.